tuned in to The Real and the Raw with Queen Renny.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to The Real and the Raw. I'm your host, Queen Renny.
All right, y'all. Welcome back. It's your girl, Queen Renny, and you are now tuned in to The Real and the Raw. I hope this week was nothing but success for you, and if it wasn't, I am sending you all the love and positive vibes. Man, y'all, okay, so we are back with a brand new series of The Real and the Raw. As y'all know, and for some of you who may not know, and if you don't know, you need to go tune in to the last series, which was covering a walk to surrender, giving it to God. I had some amazing guests on with some beautiful stories, things that we can all take from and learn from and use, as we continue to grow in our faith and in our journeys with God. So yeah, go check it out. It's episodes 1 through 6 are available on YouTube at Queen Renny Barnes, and they are also now available on Spotify at The Real and the Raw. So yeah, do that. But okay, so yes, like I said, we are back with a brand new series. So this next series is going to focus on mental health. I will be sharing my story and my journey and where I'm at today, as well as having on some really dope guests that are going to be sharing their journeys with mental health, providing tips and tools. I'll be sitting down with, friends, family, folks that I mentor, as well as some mental health professionals that will be able to provide some insight into how to manage or deal with some mental health concerns. So, yes, today I have a really special guest, someone that is like close to my heart. So before I ask them to come on, can you guess who's coming to the couch today? Can you guess who's coming to the couch today? Y'all, please help me welcome Kaliyah to the couch, even if it's virtually. Okay, you got yep, there she is. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm Kaliyah. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. So you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and let the people know who you are?
I'm Kaliyah. I don't know what else to say. Just my name.
No worries. Okay, so as she said, her name is Kaliyah, and like I said, she's like someone very special to me. So Kaliyah, let's like kind of start with how we met and how our relationship like started and how like it came to be what it is today.
I met Sharon when I was becoming a youth leader at EYDC, the East Oakland Youth Development Center. And from then, you kind of just became like my go-to person. Like if I needed anything, I was like, oh, hey, where's Sharon? Or if I needed advice, like, oh, hey, where's Sharon? And then I looked at you like as a woman, I'm like, this is the type of woman that I aspire to be. Like you're very professional, you're like very easily loved. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I
No
appreciate it.
problem.
Like Kaliyah said, y'all know that I work at a youth development center, and so she came on as what we call a youth leader, which is basically a young adult. They usually start in high school and go through like college, who work the program to get work-based learning experience, and so they mentor and provide tutoring and supervision to the youth that are in the program, which usually range anywhere from kindergarten to 8th grade. And so I've had the pleasure of knowing Kaliyah since you were like what, 13 or 14?
14.
Yeah, 14, I thought. And how, well, you're what now, like 20, 19? How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 20, turning 21.
That is crazy. Yes, so since she was 14, that's 7 years, right? I don't know how to count, but that's like 7 years, I think.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. It's 7. Going on 7.
That's
I feel
crazy.
old.
You are getting old. Dang. And see, y'all used to be saying that I was old, but y'all are getting old now.
I know.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Kaliyah was like one of the, I think maybe the second group of interns that I had. I think because you're like in Kalani's group, right?
Yeah. They
Yeah.
were there before me.
Yeah. But I've had the pleasure of, like I said, watching Kaliyah grow all the way through high school to now being in college and being a young woman who I am very proud of, and just being able to witness her growth, but just who she is as a person is just very special and a really dope girl. So I'm glad to be able to have her on to share her story and her journey. Yeah, of course. Um, Okay, so as you know, we're talking about mental health, and this podcast is all about being real and being raw. So, I want you to kind of share what your personal experiences have been with mental health, whether it be dealing through relationships, on your own accord, friendships, work life, school life, whatever you are like most comfortable sharing with us.
Okay. Um, Mental health didn't really come to me at like a young age. It kind of like came to me as I was like up in age around like 14, like around my teenage years. And I feel like that's like a good important age to start learning it because that's when you start to navigate your emotions.
Mhm.
I'm more of a like quiet person when it comes to certain things. So when things are bothering me, I don't really say anything about it or like I kind of let it build up. So that was like my take on it. I would kind of let like the stress build up and I didn't know how to handle it. So that's all that I knew how to do was to just keep it in and not express it or not like ask for help. So that was
Yeah.
like my kind of like my standpoint on mental health and like growing up and like it was kind of just like, oh, nothing's wrong with you, you're fine, like you're okay. So that's kind of like that was like my mindset. It's like I'm fine, I'm okay. So it wasn't really just it wasn't something I was used to.
Yeah, no, I remember we had a lot of conversations in my office at work because there would be, I don't know, say a conflict or something that would come up, and I would be like, Clea, why are you just now telling me? Like, why have you been
Yeah.
holding on to this for so long? And it wasn't like you would just explode or anything like that, but the emotions would just start pouring out. And I'm like, wait a minute, this has been going on for how long? And
Yeah.
like, do you think that holding those emotions in was like a learned behavior? Like, is that how
I
other folks
think it
around you felt?
definitely it was a learned behavior, but I think it was also a trauma response too because
Mhm.
I don't like growing up, I have a very like responsive household. So like everyone's always quick to like yell or always someone's always quick to like shut you down. So I will
Yeah,
always just be like, it's I'm just not going to say anything about it. Or like when I do get to that breaking point and I like cry or whatever, they're like, what are you crying for? Like, you know, like there's no reason why you should be doing that. So it was kind of just like I've learned to just hold my emotions in and just be like, okay, it doesn't matter. So it was
yeah.
definitely learned.
So yeah, because it sounds like out of fear or a judgment, or
Hmm.
folks not understanding your perspective or your emotions, or not even knowing how to handle or help you through those.
Yeah, and I am the type of person who doesn't like to be perceived in a certain way. Like I don't want to be perceived as problematic or like I'm complaining or things like that. I don't like that. So that's definitely a big part of it as well.
Yeah, which I mean, I feel like that's something that Black women deal with in general is like not wanting to be painted as that angry Black woman. And so in turn, we
Hmm.
end up pushing and suppressing things down until we do explode that day. And then we end up meeting the stereotype anyway, because we've
Yeah.
been locked for so long. And I think too, just, in the Black household, mental health and in some ways in society, uh, is like a taboo topic. And so it's not always something that's openly talked about, which means, like you said, we either learn behaviors that don't support our mental health or help us navigate it, as well as we don't end up learning the tools to support
Hmm.
ourselves and know what mental health even looks like until we've had an experience or we've gone through trauma and now our brain is like working to rewire itself. So yeah, no, I definitely, and like I said, not to say it in the way that like you just had all these things going on, but
Yeah.
teenager navigating school, navigating family and friendships, and working and dealing with youth who had their own traumas and their own
Yeah.
behaviors and feelings. And so you're trying to take in a lot while also like trying to put
Pouring
out
out.
So
Yeah, to
there was
others.
just a lot of conversations about one, recognizing how you're feeling, how to verbalize how you're feeling, and like, okay, now that you see it, now that you know, and you're able to say what it is, what can we do now to kind of help you navigate it and heal from it so that you're
Mhm.
not stuck in that same place. Because to grow takes healing from whatever we've been dealing with. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it was like I said, it's been dope to be a part of that journey and just see
Yeah,
sort
I'll
of.
say you definitely were a part of just me, like helping me acknowledge what was going on. I was like, are you sure you're okay? Like, do you want to talk about it? You definitely were like, you definitely helped me like navigate my own like feelings and help me notice when something is wrong and when I should speak up about it and how I should speak up about it. You definitely helped
Yeah,
me out.
no, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm glad that I have been able to be in your life because like what y'all don't always get to know is that even though I'm there for y'all, y'all teach me and help me grow and hold me accountable to make sure like I'm continuing on a path that could be an example for y'all as you continue to get older. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that you would have someone and like an example of how to kind of navigate those things, which is why I be so open because I'm like, there's somebody else who can learn from my experience or see my experience and have hope from it. And I think same goes for you is that you've been able to be an example for youth and your family, you know, who's coming up under you
Yeah.
on how to navigate just life because it's a lot and it's hard, which I know is something like that you've dealt with is like navigating friendships and how
Mm-hmm.
friendships can also play a role in our mental health. How was it for
Yeah.
you just navigating young friendships and moving into adulthood and what friendship kind of looks like for you now?
This actually is really this is like really recent. Just because since I'm going into like young adulthood, like becoming like finding out who I am as an individual
Yes.
really took a toll on my friendships because you guys could be friends for so long, but you guys are still different people and you
Mhm.
have different mindsets. And
Yes.
having different mindsets with friendships when you're younger is okay because you guys are still learning, you guys are still growing. But
Yeah.
having different mindsets when you're becoming an adult, sometimes it just doesn't work. And
Yeah.
I'm learning that even as much as you want something and as much as you try, that it's okay for something to not work for you. It's okay to
Yeah.
branch out. It's okay to find new things for you. Old
Yeah.
things, it might not always be good for you. It might have been good for you in that moment, but
Mhm.
not necessarily as you're finding yourself. And I think that's what I'm doing. I'm just finding myself.
Yeah,
Some
no.
people and some things aren't for.
That's valid, and I think what the one thing that you pointed out is that sometimes friendships are for a reason and a season, and it doesn't mean that because we've been friends for 10 years, it means that we're going to be friends for 30. You know, and
Yeah.
sometimes we learn from each other, and like you said, what was okay at this stage in my life may not be okay for me moving forward. And that is
Yeah.
okay. Like, that doesn't mean that there
Yeah.
has to be love lost. That doesn't mean that I have to stop caring about you or talking to you. It just means that we may not navigate in the same space and in the same way that we used to. And I feel like that's something that's going to probably happen just all throughout
Yeah.
life. You know, I mean, obviously, I'm older than you, and have had a best friend since the fifth grade, and we've been like this, and now our relationship looks completely different. You know, we don't talk all the time. It's very rare now. We don't follow each other on social medias, but she knows and I know that if we need each other or something's going on in our lives, we would be there for each other. And so
Mm-hmm.
yes, the capacity in which we are friends has completely changed, but that doesn't mean that we're
Yeah.
enemies now. And that wasn't easy. That was hard to like come to terms with. Is like
Yeah.
somebody that is my go-to that I hang out with is not that person anymore.
Yeah. When
Um,
you're used to someone on a day-to-day basis and now they're not there, it's
yes,
kind of it gets adjusting. Like it's hard to
yes.
adjust to.
There's a level of grief that takes place in friendships that have changed or no
Mm-hmm.
longer exist at all. And I think sometimes we get in our ego and we be like, "Oh, forget her. you know, we ain't cool no more." Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
Yeah.
no, you doing your thing. I'm doing mine. I can love you from
Mm-hmm.
a distance, you know, and I can also feel sad. and angry that things worked out the way that they have.
Yeah.
And we have to, like, be okay with sitting and feeling those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, that has also been something, like you said, that you've had to deal with, and definitely more recently than not. So I can definitely relate, because this is like new territory for me too. And I'm sure there's people who are going to watch this episode, and I know y'all have probably had a friendship that you thought was going to be in the same capacity forever. Y'all kids was going to be
Mm-hmm.
siblings and all of that, and now it's just not that anymore, and
Yeah.
it's difficult to like navigate. Yeah. um so I mean, I know we've been kind of talking about friends and the fact that you had a learned behavior of suppressing emotions instead of, you know outwardly validating them and working through them, which I know you've grown in that area a lot. But I know that you had a certain experience that kind of probably took you back, or put a pause on a lot of that healing and growth. I know you, like me, are in the like unfortunate club, and the club that we did not sign up for, of losing our older brothers in a very tragic
Mm-hmm.
way. So can you, I mean, and it's up to you on how much detail you want to give on what happened to your brother. But if you do tell, also pair that with like how that affected your mental health.
Okay. Yeah. So I lost my brother when I was 15 to gun violence. One, he was my only like sibling that I was with on a day-to-day basis. So he was like my go-to person. So I think it affected my mental health in a way of, because my brother he was a quiet person, so he was always to himself. So I was missing my brother before he was gone, because he like started his own life. Like, he's my older brother. So I was missing him before he was gone, because like, he's my big brother. I was messing with him. It's just little sister things.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
knowing that you go like you can going from it was just very shocking to go me being able to go to calling him one day to not being able to talk to him at all. Like,
Yeah.
and then it's just like the city that I live in, it's all around you. But when it
Yes.
happens to you,
Yes.
it hits different. Like, of course you feel for others and things that happens to them, and you try to like be there for them. But when it happens to you, it's different. I think when I first got the news, I lost like everything. I just lost all feeling. Like my heart dropped, because I was just like, this is like my brother. Like, this is crazy. It changed for me. It changed my mental health, because one, it was scary because it was an area where I was around a lot.
Yeah.
So it was an area that I was used to. So now for me, I was scared to walk places. I was scared to be around certain people. Certain noises would like startle me to where like I would go into like panic attacks and
Yeah.
things like that. It was just like one of those, like, it took over everything. Like,
Yeah.
my friends was like, "Oh, you're different," and then I was just like, "I don't know how to explain how I'm feeling to you guys," so I isolated myself. Then
Yeah.
it was people, they thought that they knew what they could say to me. It's like, "Oh, it's okay." Then I had
Ugh.
my friends saying, "Oh, just come back to school," and then it's just like the people that I'm like, and then people that you've never talked to before. "Oh, hi, how are you?" It's just like, get away from me, kind of like a. I just turned into a totally different person. And
Yeah.
actually, like, as I'm finding myself now, I see that before my brother passed away, I was full of light. And like I see like old videos and things of myself, and I'm like, I'm a totally different person now. And it
Yeah.
changed my personality completely. And I was just like, okay, what can I do to try to like, find myself again? But it's hard because like I like since I lost him at a young age, a lot of accomplishments and milestones that I really wish I could have shared with my brother that I wasn't able to share with my brother. And then like it's an ongoing process. It doesn't get easier. It doesn't like nothing will make it easier. Like the
Yeah.
more you think about it, the more you hurt, the more the years go on, the more you're like, wow, I really wish you were here. Like it's just it's not going to be something that it's not something that you can fix,
No. Yeah.
and it's not something that you can get over. So
Yeah.
it'll forever be a mental process trying to understand and
Yeah.
trying to be like trying to live with it.
Yeah, yeah. Grief is definitely something that you don't necessarily get over. I was saying this in another episode is that, they say, oh, there's the seven stages of grief, but people think like that one, they come right after the other. And sometimes they take a lot of time. But then two, just because you hit stage seven doesn't mean that you're now done with grief and it's just over.
Hmm.
You're grieving for the rest of your life. And like you said, you just learn to live with that pain and still find joy. And it's crazy because, well, it's not crazy, but I'm sitting here listening to everything that you just said, and one, it sounds just like me. Obviously, I didn't lose my brother to gun violence, but I still lost my brother in a tragic way due to medical negligence and systemic racism in
Hmm.
healthcare. And I went through the exact same things that you just explained, like feeling like I'm in a whole different reality, and that like this is not real at first, and like everything just kind of comes crashing down to personality change. I remember, like you said, looking at videos and being like, I could see the light in my eyes, and now I just see sadness in my eyes.
Yeah,
And friends not understanding, some family not understanding. It's really something that you can't truly relate to and understand unless you've dealt with it yourself. And that doesn't mean that you can't empathize, but it's only to a certain extent. Um,
yeah,
and it's just different. Everything about life is different, especially like you said, as a younger sister. We look up to our brothers. They're like our protectors, especially if like our dads are not necessarily around like that, which is what my brother
hmm,
was for me. um and it changes a lot. And like you said, it sounds like you also were dealing with PTSD, which for anyone who doesn't know is post-traumatic stress disorder. And that is like those panic attacks, that fear, when you're in certain spaces or hear certain sounds that kind of cause you to have a flashback, or freeze, flight. What's the other one? Or fight. Um,
hmm,
so your body and just completely changes. Your brain completely changes, and so the way that you navigate things and relationships, that changes like completely. I know there's people that I stopped talking to, not because they did anything, just because like I was going through so much, I didn't want to talk. I didn't have anything to
yeah.
say. And like,
And people tend to take it as like, oh, why are you acting a certain type of way? It's just like I can't. Like I can't show up how I
yeah,
normally would. I'm going through something that you can't relate to. And I'm gonna like, you're not gonna want to relate to it. It's not something that I would want anyone to relate to. So then it's like it's gonna be all that I talk about or all
ex-
that I feel
I
and
was
things
literally
like
gonna
that.
say, like, what
Yeah, the same.
what you want me to talk? Okay, I want to sit here and tell you the story, and I want you to understand exactly why I'm so angry and why I'm so sad. I want to talk about the memories that I miss, and like you said, there's so many milestones that have happened since then. In the same year that my brother passed away, the very next month after him passing away, I graduated from grad school. He couldn't be there. I got married. He couldn't be there. I bought my first house. He couldn't be there. His child, his only child, was born. And he has not been able to, one, witness that or be there to be the father that we all knew he was going to be. And so it's like, it's not like you just constantly remember, because life is constantly happening without them. And like
Yeah,
you said, unless you have experienced it, you don't really know what that looks like. And if you truly love me, you're going to love me through it. You're going to be patient with me, and as understanding as you can. Like, if I don't make this event, don't hold it against me. Please don't.
yeah,
And all of those different things. Like, if I'm not answering my phone, if I'm not texting back, if you message me on Instagram and I don't respond, but you see me on my story talking about, whatever, like, please know that this is probably just a way for me to get things out of my mind, but it doesn't mean I'm open to conversation. And I think
hmm.
shallow friendships don't make it through grief and trauma, but real
It
friends
doesn't.
do. Yeah. I mean, did losing your brother kind of play a role in you losing certain friendships, or friendships not being in the capacity of
Yes.
time?
When I was going, because I lost my brother in December, so in school it was kind of like right before winter break, and my friends were like, they were like, "Oh, you should come to school for finals. You should do this. You should do that." And I kind of was just like, okay, yeah. And then I would ignore them because there's no way you're telling me to come to school for finals. And I just lost like my brother. And then I noticed that over winter break, we didn't talk. Like, actually, I came to school the day of finals, but the day of finals was the same day that I had to go view my brother's body. And they didn't ask me, it was like, hey, how are you feeling? Hey, how are you okay? Are you okay? Like, do you need like anything? It wasn't that. It was just kind of just a regular school day. But I remember being outside. Like, I felt like I was like on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And then my brother's funeral was the next day. No one asked me, hey, Kaliyah, how are you doing? How are you, like, are you okay? And it kind of like, we didn't talk for the whole break. So for the whole 3 weeks, we didn't talk. And then when we came back to school, it was of like, everybody was kind of just like standoffish because like, oh, Kaliyah's not talking to us or Kaliyah's not this. And I'm just like, I had one friend. He passed away, but he did text me. He was like, hey, Kaliyah, I know you've kind of been like away from the group. I just wanted to make sure you're okay. Out of my whole friend group, even the friends that they've been like my friends up until now, they still don't check in. They still don't ask, say, how are you okay? They still don't, and they never did. So it was kind of more of a just, it didn't affect them. So it wasn't really an important thing to them. So I feel like, hey, I'm not important to you if you don't ask me how I'm feeling. But then I also have to learn that it's not their obligation to ask me how I'm feeling. And it's not their obligation to check on me and make sure I'm okay. So I kind of had to learn how to deal with that too.
That's so real because when we're going through something, it's our world. But other people are going through things too. And so everybody is walking around being caught up in their own world and in their own trauma and in their own experiences. And if you're not, kind of have the emotional intelligence or the compassion and empathy to step outside of yourself and your world and check on someone that you say you love, then it does make that person feel even more lonely and that they're in this by themselves. And like you said, even though, yes, you're not obligated to ask me, then I'm not always in the space to just be open and blurt out and hey, I'm feeling this today. You know what I mean? Sometimes
Yeah.
you want to be asked because it shows that like you actually care about me and you care about how I'm feeling and how I'm doing in
Yeah.
this moment. And it's hard because I know the experience, you were still in high school. And
Yeah, I was
so
gonna say, and we were also young, still
yeah,
navigating and learning. So it's like they probably wanted to, they just didn't know how to. So
that
it
was
was
just
kind of just like awkward and
yeah.
standoffish. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like, okay, I'll just stay in the corner over here. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, okay, so speaking about the fact that like you were young when this happened, and just dealing with all the things that you said so far regarding mental health, have you dealt with like any misconceptions about or around being so young and having struggles with mental health or trauma? Like have you ever had the, oh, you're too young to be worried or to be stressed?
Yes. A month prior for losing my brother, I lost my grandma. And when I was at my grandma's funeral, I remember my dad telling me, he was like, what are you crying for? He was like, death is a part of life. It just happens. Get over it. You don't need to cry about it. And that really stuck with me because I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, I understand it's a part of life, but then it's also like, it's my feelings. And like, I deserve to be able to feel my feelings. And
Yes.
then like in my household particularly, like that's when everything's always suppressed. Everyone's like, oh, you don't know what stress is until you're paying your own bills and you're doing this, and that. And you don't know what stress is until you have kids, and you don't know what stress is until you do this. So you're complaining. And then I'm just understanding like there's different ways of stress and there's different forms of stress. Like
Mm,
going to school is stressful. Like navigating your emotions as a teenager is stressful. Going to these classes, trying to you don't understand it how they expect you to understand it. That is stressful. Feeling like you're
yeah.
not enough, feeling like you're not smart enough. That's stressful. Like I think that was a big thing for me. And I think I was even more stressed as a young person because it's like I felt like I didn't have the outlet. So I was stressed. And then it was like I couldn't express the stress. So that brought more stress. So it
Yeah.
was definitely like I'm too young to
Yeah.
feel stressed or I don't have enough going on with myself to be stressed. And I don't really know what stress is, or you're not depressed, you're just overreacting and you're not
Mm,
having anxiety, you're just putting on a show. It was like
yeah.
one of those.
Yes. No, first of all, thank you for sharing everything, from your brother to that experience, because I can see how those reactions can create the cycle of suppressing emotion. Because when I do express, if I'm told I'm too young to feel this way, or what I'm feeling is not what I'm actually feeling and going through, or, like you said, suppressing my emotions when I'm actually trying to be open about them, it creates an environment that, okay, I'm unsafe to just go through life. And
Hmm.
life happens to everyone. It don't wait until you're 30 to start happening to you. Life starts happening to you as soon as you come out the womb. And life is stressful. We are going day by day, not knowing what is going to happen at any moment. And we, like you said, we can be here one day and be gone the next, or someone we love be here one day and be gone the next. And just not being in control is stressful enough. And there's no
Yeah.
factors on, or age limit on, stress, anxiety, PTSD, trauma, depression, And so I'm glad that you were able to name those things now and have the kind of the tools to um, navigate those feelings and emotions, and create a community around you that can make you feel safe to express
Hmm.
and to and to like talk about how life does happen to us sometimes. Like, we're just not always in
Yeah.
control. I remember when I was in college at Chico State, I was dealing with depression. Didn't realize it at the time. But when I had moments where I was like, hey, I'm not happy, something isn't right, I don't want to go back there, it was like, oh, and granted, like, because it wasn't realized what I was going through, the reactions that I was getting wasn't meant to harm me or to suppress. It was more so like just the misconception of being an athlete, really. It was like, okay, I went to this school for a year. I don't want to go back. Oh, no freshman truly enjoys it. Just go back. Your second year it's always better. Went back because I'm like, okay, everybody's, saying that this is just something that everyone goes through, and went even more into depression, wasn't going to class, had a medical need that wasn't being met there, and wasn't being
Hmm.
seriously by my coaches and training staff, which didn't help me being depressed, and was like the root of kind of all of that. And I was just uncomfortable there. It just wasn't the place for me. And my body was telling me that, but I didn't listen to it because of all the other voices that were speaking over me. And I think, just to say that, I think it's super important that even when others don't understand, or are kind of suppressing, your body best, and your mind.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that's a big thing for me right now.
Yeah, go
That
ahead.
people's opinions, I think, like, for me, since I'm still young, but then I have to keep reminding myself, and I have a little sister who's going on to college, and she's telling me, oh, my parents were saying this, and that. And I have to tell her, I said, your parents' input matters, but remember, this is your life. They live their life. I said, it's
Exactly.
time for you to live your life. And I think that's a big thing for me. I personally, like, I have this thing where I always worry about what my family's going to say. And I have to
Same.
remember, like, it's not your life, it's my life. I have to make mistakes. I have to go through life. You guys lived your life. Now it's
Yep.
time to your opinion. I will hear your opinion, but once my mind is made up, it's my mind. It's like, hey, like, you can't really do anything. This is like,
No,
I'm
you
gonna
can't.
do it. So
Yeah, you can't live
yeah.
for me. You can't make the mistakes for me. You can't grow or change for me. I remember having a conversation with my grandmother. I think I was maybe a senior in high school. I might have been in college. I don't know, but she had an opinion. I had an opinion. I had to tell her, like, I want you to trust that you raised me well enough to go and live a good life, and a life that I'm thoughtful, and I'm not just out here doing anything willy-nilly, but I have to make my own mistakes. They always say, like, I'm trying to keep you from making the same mistakes that I made. Okay, and I love that, but I'm still going to make my own mistakes. They don't have to be
Hmm.
yours, but I'm going to have to make my own in order to grow, learn, and flourish into the person that I want to be. I'm going to have to fall down. You cannot prevent me or protect me from everything, and that is okay. You have to trust that you raised me well enough to know how to get back up when I fall down, to know how to make the right decisions, and to live a life that is like pleasing to God ultimately. You know what I mean? And once we had that conversation, I think for her, it was like, oh, like, you're right.
Yeah.
I can't save you from everything. No, you can't.
I
And
would say I think it's
I don't
kind of
want to
hard for them too, because once they notice that you're not making the mistakes that they're making, they was like, so how do I guide them?
be.
Because I
Yes.
come from a family where they were all teen mothers. Now I'm
Yeah.
20 something years old and I didn't have a child as a teen. So now I'm experiencing high school. Like they didn't get to experience the dances, the going to prom, the graduating high school, the ceremonies and things like that, the applying for college. Now that I'm not making mistakes, or not necessarily mistakes, now I'm not going through what they went through, they
Mhm.
don't know how to navigate me
Yes.
to
Because
the
they've
right
never
steps
been
because they've never been there.
there.
So
Yes. And
that's a big toll on that takes a big toll on it too.
it's a huge toll because sometimes that can come out in the sense of how can we come from the same place, yet you're here and I'm still here?
Mm-hmm.
Able to exceed expectation, or you, like you said, have been able to navigate things in a different way, which has provided you a different life. But we both came from here, and sometimes our love
Mm-hmm.
express that in a lack of support, in anger, in jealousy, you know what I mean? And so we wonder sometimes with like mother-daughter relationships, or just relationships in general with loved ones, and usually the ones that we're closest to or have been raised by, you start to like go into this stage where there's just so much conflict with each other and so much arguing with each other.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on? And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it's exactly what you said. You are living a different life than I have ever led or had the opportunity to lead. And now
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to help you take the next step, or I'm in shock that you even have a next step. And now I
Mm-hmm.
want to deal with that within myself. But also as parents or as guardians, it's like they may feel bad that they can't, help you past a certain point or support you
Yeah.
past a certain point. And now they're like, dang, they're disappointed in themselves. And it's like, no, you don't have anything to be disappointed about because you still helped me get this far. And now, like I said,
Yeah.
you just have to trust that you did a well enough job that I can take you from here. And that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have kids, but I can only imagine when it gets to that point.
Oh, yeah.
um, so thank you for sharing. Like I said, I'm just super proud of you and like everything and the way that you're able to express yourself. I mean, you've always carried yourself so well. You've always been very well spoken. But it's just different seeing, grown women Kaliyah versus 14-year-old Kaliyah who's still like, what is
Yeah.
here and here. Um, so that leads me to kind of like, you're welcome. Where are you at now in like your mental health journey or your healing journey, given everything that you've shared?
Right now, I'm in a pick me point. Like
Period.
it's all about me.
Period.
I'm definitely this is all about me. I'm in, not in a cutting off people, but like if you're not serving me no purpose whatsoever, even if the conversation doesn't feel right to me, exit out. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to. I've been I've been going through loneliness. Like I've been feeling like being alone a lot. And
Yeah.
it's been really hurting my feelings a lot because I was always a person who was around friends and
Yeah.
things like that. I always had someone to be with, something to do. But now as I'm stepping into this new chapter in my life, I'm alone. I don't have any friends. I'm just
Yeah.
I don't have no friends. I have associates, I have people that I may talk to from time to time, but I don't have
We did
no friends.
that.
Yeah. I don't have like my family members, I don't really talk to them. I'm actually like I'm disassociating myself. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to find out who I am. How can I be the best person for myself? I
Yeah.
am not letting people speak over me, try to convince me of something that I know that I don't want or I know that I don't need, whether that's jobs, relationships. If I feel like the vibes are off or I feel like I'm mentally not thriving in a place, then I will remove myself. I don't
Good.
care how it'll I'll deal with the effects after. But I know at this moment that this is not for me, that I'll remove myself. I think I'm in that point of time. I'm in a point of not reacting as well. I'm
Yeah.
gonna analyze the points. I'm just analyzing everything, trying to be non-reactive, trying to be more understanding of everything and everyone. I think that's the kind of like what I am. I'm in like
Yeah,
trying to like understand you, but you're also not going to like you're not going to try to control me or shut me down
yeah,
or shut me up.
yeah.
That's kind of like where I am. And it feels good. It feels good
Good.
to finally be able to like take charge for myself. Like, yeah, I'm like, I hear you, but this is what I'm saying. Like
Period.
that's what
I'm not swaying or shifting just to be liked or to stay in this friend group. And I mean, I know you said that it's hard to navigate, but I love this period for you because sometimes we get so caught up in our group identity that like
mm-hmm.
time to stand alone, we don't know how to do that. And we don't know who we are by ourselves and on our own accord. And
Yeah.
sometimes will separate us from others and put us kind of in a period where it's just us so that one we learn how to lean on him and to trust him and let him
Mm-hmm.
guide us, but also so that like you said we get comfortable with being who we are so that when we do step back out and we emerge, we are one equipped with the tools, we know who we are, we can't be swayed, and we also have just a different level of emotional intelligence and understanding for ourselves. Because if I don't love me, if I don't appreciate me, then it's going to be so easy for others to take over who I want to be. And so
Yeah.
I think you're doing the right thing by taking time for yourself so that you can heal, you can grow, and so that when you do come back out and you're like, okay, I'm ready to build friendships again or be back in community, you can lead it in a loving way and a compassionate way, and in a way where you can understand, but also be able to advocate for yourself and speak for yourself. And it's just different. I mean, like I said, I was there and I'm kind of that's why I'm just now bringing the podcast back after so many years because I'm just now kind of getting into a space where I'm like, okay, I want to be social now. I want to be around people. And I didn't for so long, but I was able to make sure my relationship with myself and with God was like this, so that when I was
Mm-hmm.
and am ready now, I'm able to move the way I want to move, regardless of circumstances, situations, or people
Yeah.
that are around me. And
Mm-hmm.
I have more pride and joy in that than anything else. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah. Um, are there any like things that you want people to take or to know specifically from your story and your journey?
Um, I just want people to always know that go to God. Like, or if you don't like believe in God or whatnot, just make sure you take time for yourself to reflect.
Yeah.
And other people's opinions are not always the best opinions. The way that people perceive you is not who you are, it's how you perceive yourself.
Yes.
I think that's a really big thing, just to love yourself so other people can know how to love you. I
Amen.
think that's a big
Yeah.
thing.
How can someone else know how to love me if I don't know how I love myself or what I even
Yeah.
need or want from people and I can't express that, then I'm going to be willing to take anything, and I don't deserve just anything.
Yes.
I read a quote a while ago which was so real, and I hope I'm saying it correctly, but it was basically like people who mean well don't always know what's best. And that
Mm-hmm.
I'm like you said, people are giving you opinion and what they think you should do, not because they don't care about you, but it's because they care about you 9 times out of 10. But it doesn't mean they always know what's best for you. And so even though you
Right.
mean well and you care for me, I still have to at the end of the day, make a decision that I know is best for me and that I know will be pleasing to God. And if those two things are in alignment, then I can't worry about anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so wow. Okay. Thank you. Y'all, I told you that this was going to be good. Like she said, she's 20 going on 21, right? Not even at
Yeah,
like
in
the
June.
age yet. She'll be 21 in June. Dang, it's coming up fast. That's crazy.
I know.
Clearly you hear the wisdom. Clearly she has a story that others need to hear and to be able to gain insight and hope and know that like, okay, if Kaliyah has gone through this, if she's had so much loss, if she's had to navigate friendships and trauma and depression and all of these other factors, and look at her on this podcast speaking about where she was and where she is now, then like I have a chance and I have hope in my own journey. And I just think like it's beautiful to be a part of your journey and to see how you have grown. And like, I can't wait to see where God takes you in the future. And I'm just excited for you. Yes. Y'all, like I said, give it up for Kaliyah, because she used to be quiet. Like, she would not have done this podcast if
Yeah, I
15
would not have that. I would have been like, no, thank you. I'm okay. I don't want to do it.
literally. And I remember, like, she volunteered herself. I was like, okay, I think
I
I'm gonna do this.
did.
Like, oh yeah, me, have me.
I was like, if you do it, I'm gonna be one of them. I'm gonna do
Yes,
it.
and I was like, period. I'm not gonna forget that. So I'm glad that we were able to make this happen. Thank you. Like I said, thank you for sharing. Which I know, the
No
situation
problem.
with
Thank
your brother.
you.
Of course, I know the situation with your brother is hard, was hard, and I'm sure will continue to be something that your heart has to navigate and your mind is like grappling with. Know that, like, obviously, I'm always here to support you and love on you. But all right, y'all, we are going to wrap this episode up the way that we always do. So, in the words of my late great brother, Sean E. Washington II, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and reflect. Most of the time, things work out fine if you just relax your mind. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on YouTube at Queen Renny Barnes. We will also have episodes uploaded to Spotify at The Real and the Raw. Sending peace and love. Queen Renny out.